Coming up on The Potter's Touch.
I've got to have the stage set. I've got to put everything in place. I've got to offer it to them in this realm, knowing they will reject me. But I've still got to offer my kingship to them, knowing that if they reject me today, there will come a day that there will not be an option. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall.
This is the Potter's Touch.
Lord have mercy, Christian friends, brothers and sisters, I'm glad to have an opportunity to share this word with you. When God gets ready to pull you out of something, no devil in hell can stop you from coming out. The message, excuse me, no more drama. Yeah, I got it from Mary J. Check it out. Luke 19:28, it's for you. No more drama. Now, I want you to understand the tension that exists as we come into Holy Week. We celebrate Holy Week with festivity and jubilation. But in reality, when Christ is approaching this moment, having passed through Bethany and Bethphage, he comes with a great deal of anxiety in his heart and in his spirit. He has been wailing before the Father in the Garden of Gethsemane. We feel the weight on him. Father, if it be thy will, pass this bitter cup from me. I love this prayer because it points me to the humanity in Christ. When people see you moving in divinity, they forget humanity. This is included lest you think that this just comes natural for Jesus, that this is just easy for Jesus, that he approaches the cross without any trepidation. The reality is there is agony in him. He sweats and cries out to God while others sleep. He cries out till great drops of blood, sweat like blood begins to come from his brow, agonizing. How can I get out of this? 3 times he prayed, let this pass from me. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Finally, he submits and says, not my will, but thine be done. Another text says he set his face to go to Jerusalem. Sometimes you have to set your face. You have to make yourself do what you got to do. He set his face toward Jerusalem. Jerusalem, the holy city. Jerusalem, the center and the apex of all that we would know and understand about our covenant-keeping God. Jerusalem, layers and layers of antiquitous history built one upon another. Jerusalem, the holy city, Jerusalem, city of Salem, peace. It is the city of peace. When they couldn't reach it, they would look toward it, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not only the city of peace, it is also the city of turmoil. How paradoxical can it be that the city of peace is in a state of turmoil and unrest? There is unease in Jerusalem. It is up under Roman control. The Roman Empire has seized the city of peace. And as holy as the city is meant to be, there has been an intervention of politics and corruption and confusion and unrest, and Rome is trying to hold down Jerusalem. And this Jesus is causing a stir, and he's causing an unrest, and some have dared to call him the King of the Jews. How can there be another king in the presence of Caesar? The Romans Romans are troubled because they've already had an uprising and a revolt in this city, and now all of these people are gathering around this man called Jesus. Who knows what they will do when they get to the city? Something has got to be done. On one side, the Romans are concerned about Jesus. The political powers are upset because when you get too much power, any political powers get nervous when you have too much influence. I need not remind you of Dr. King and the FBI. I need not remind you, when you get too many people saying Hosanna, somebody's going to want to take you out. Caiaphas, the priest, is upset too because he's shaking fundamental religion to its foundation. He's questioning their ethics and their teachings and their philosophy. So on one hand, you have a political disturbance. On the other hand, you have a religious disturbance. And in the middle, you have an uprising of people who are talking about Jesus. He has an internal problem with inside his camp. That's one thing. It's one thing to have trouble on the outside. That's stressful all by itself. To have to live between Roman opinion and religious opinion, between Caesar and Caiaphas, that's enough hell all by itself. But even in the inside of his camp, there's a guy named Judas who has been sitting in the inner circle, privy to all the information, and Judas's heart has turned. We don't even know when it turned. The Bible says Satan entered into Judas, but it doesn't tell us when. The strange thing about people, you never know when they're going to turn. So he's got trouble on the left side, trouble on the right side, and Judas in his own camp. But he has set his face toward Jerusalem. Time will not allow me to really point to the integrity of this moment. You must understand that the earth is the Lord's, the fullness of the world, and they that dwell therein. Take a tithe of it, and you've got Israel. Take a tithe of Israel, and you have Jerusalem. Take a tithe of Jerusalem, and you have the temple. Take a tithe of the temple, and you have the holies of holies. All the people belong to God. Take a tithe of them, and you have the Israelites. Take a tithe of them, and you have the priesthood. Take a tithe of the priesthood, and you have the high priest. Look at the high priest, and you have Jesus. A tithe is always the representative of the whole. So when you see Jesus, he is not only the Lord of glory, but he is a representative of the whole. Caiaphas spoke well when he said, what is it that we get rid of this one man? What is one man dying against the whole world? Little did he know that's exactly what Jesus was going to do. He has set his face to go to Jerusalem. What amazes me as he leaves Bethany and Bethphage is that he says to two of his disciples, he said, go into the nearest city, and when you get in the city, there you will find, look at your prophet. A prophet, if you will, prophet, priest, and king. A prophet now, he's operating in his prophetic gift. He says, when you get in the town, you will find a colt tied up. Oh, I got happy when I read it. I'm happy because with all of this pressure and all of this weight and all of this betrayal and all of this confusion, his gift still operates. I'm happy because in the middle of all of this anguish and prayer and chaos and confusion, that he still knows where the colt is. See, I got happy about that, Sarah, because I believe that if God can know where the colt is, he knows. And sometimes I can deal with the hell of life if I can just remind myself that God knows where I am. If he don't fix it, I'm just happy to know that he knows. And so he says, go get the colt. You must understand that there's about to be some drama. Not in the colloquialistic ideas of drama, but drama in its purest definition is a reenactment of reality. When I looked it up, the definition, one of the words that they used to explain what drama was pantomime. It is in fact the imitation. And in order to be an imitation, there has to be a reality. And I suggest to you that Jesus has sent for the colt because there's about to be a play. And the play is a when he will come riding in as the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings, and the real coronation will begin. And he says, go get the colt. I'm going to act out what will ultimately happen. Now, the drama an enactment of another day and another time when they will really recognize that he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He said, I'm about to make my entrance. I've got to have an entourage. I've got to have the stage set. I've got to put everything in place. I've got to offer it to them in this realm, knowing they will reject me. But I've still got to offer my kingship to them, knowing that if they reject me today, there will come a day that there will not be an option. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall.
Still to come on The Potter's Touch.
You have to go through a period of ambiguity and uncertainty and isolation to realize that it was all a setup for a divine reservation. I came to tell somebody. You haven't been overlooked. You're reserved.
MegaFest 2015 is more than a festival. It's an experience.
This is MegaFest.
From August 19th to the 23rd, MegaFest is taking over Dallas. An extravaganza for the whole family.
And 100% pure fun.
There is something for everyone. Visit mega-fest.com to find event updates and to make reservations. This experience is one you don't want to miss.
Feeling intimidated and insecure and wrestling with low self-esteem, I must not be worth anything. Every time they need something done, they pick somebody else. I've been overlooked and looked over, and I'm tied up and I got issues, and I'm standing here, and all of a sudden here comes two disciples down the road saying, God has not forgotten you. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but when I look at it from the angle of the colt, I realize how long the colt lived without a sense of purpose, without a sense of significance, without a moment of validation. He's just going through the motions. Why am I eating? Why am I drinking? Nobody uses me anyway. Why am I here? Nobody has ever sat on me, sat on my brothers and my sisters, never did touch. What's wrong with me? That nobody ever chooses me. The cult doesn't know that his isolation is really a reservation. I'm talking to somebody, I don't even know who it is. You have to go through a period of ambiguity and uncertainty and isolation to realize that it was all a setup for a divine reservation. I came to tell somebody. You haven't been overlooked. You're reserved. Like a table in a restaurant with a sign on it. Can't nobody sit here because it has a reservation. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying to you. Tell somebody, tell them I'm reserved. Don't touch this, don't fool with this, don't bother this. I'm on reserve. When the time is right and the stage is set, then God will call me. Like an actor waiting behind a curtain for a cue, the cult waits in ambiguity and steps with one hoof from ambiguity into notoriety, from overlooked to looked upon. You're just one step away. That's something I thought about it. And the disciples went down there, and Jesus seemingly knows that whenever he gets ready to claim what is his, there will always be opposition. That's a sermon all by itself. And he said, go down there, I know where it is. All that pressure on him, he knew where he was. He says, go get him. And if any man tries to stop you, tell him up under whose authority. Tell him who's running this drama. Tell him who's in charge of this drama. Tell him who's producing this play. Tell him the Lord has need. That canceled out everything you had planned for him. I want him. Come here. Now, there is a problem. There is a theological problem I have to deal with. The book of Exodus says that whenever a colt or ass is born and never a man has sat on him, that in order to take him, you have to give a lamb to redeem him from the owner. And I thought, my God, this is a conversation between a colt and a lamb. So I thought I would look into it a little bit because, you know, one theologian says that even though Luke does not mention it, he suggests that the disciples must have carried a lamb to redeem the colt. But where the Bible is silent, I think we should be silent. And I could not find where Jesus sent a lamb with the disciples. And then I realized he didn't send a lamb. Because he is the lamb. And I realized the only way you can be redeemed is by the price of a lamb. Now, can I work on this just a minute or two? They could not steal him. They had to redeem him. So he said, tell him the Lord has need of him. Because Jesus knew that he wasn't just Lord, he was also Lamb. That's another sermon all by itself, but I don't have time to talk about that. So they redeemed him, switched his ownership. As they was getting him coat, looked at his old owner, said, you don't own me no more. I've been redeemed. Change my papers. What used to own me, you need to change your papers, because what used to own you, what used to tell you when to eat and when to drink and when to lay down and when to go into the store, it don't own you. Doesn't own you anymore. So number one, he had to be redeemed. 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 Purchase, transaction, agreement worked out so that he could switch papers. But then there was this other problem. He had to be released. Because he wasn't just owned by someone else. He was tied up. Now, he cannot release you until he redeems you. But if he redeems you, he's got the right to release you. Every redeemed person in this room ought to be shouting. Because first thing we got to acknowledge is that you can be redeemed and not be released. To further validate this fact, look at Lazarus. Resurrected from the dead, but still bound by the grave clothes. Jesus used the same term. He said, I'm going to raise him, but y'all got to loose him. And I believe he said, loose the coats. Let him go. You can't tie me no more, because you don't own me no more. Or I'm giving you some ammunition you can use against that thing you're fighting with right now. I've been redeemed, now I've got to be released. Turn my neck loose. Whatever you were using that kept me in the same spot. See, when a colt is tied, it can only move so far before the rope pulls it back to the post. All my life, I've been clomping around in the same circumstance. And every time I tried to get away, you used the same old stuff to pull me back to the post again. But I got out of the bed this morning to kiss the post goodbye, because the Lord has demanded a release. Slap three people and say, I got to go. where I am. I can't live like I am. I can't deal with it like I am. I got to go. The Lord told me to command a release in your life. Give God a praise. I'm out of time. I've got to stop there, but I think I speak for millions of people who are saying no more drama. We don't want it. We don't need it. We're going into a new year. We got a new attitude. Don't bring me no stuff. Won't be none. Thank you, partners, for letting me share the word of God with these people. We rebuke every dramatic impulse of the enemy that's come against us to distract us from our supernatural divine purpose, and we declare liberty to the bound, to the captive. Go free. He whom the Son have set free is free indeed. I'm so glad for my friends, my partners, and my supporters. Without your help, I'd still be preaching. I'd be preaching in my church, and I'd be blessing my congregation. But your help takes me beyond the walls so that I can reach you. Before I die in a cage, I want to run in the wild.
To understand what it is to be a pastor.
They can hear the life-changing message that and the education.
You're frustrated about something that's just an incubator to take you to the next dimension.
Now we're going to grow and go to global missions. No more limits, no more boundaries.
To register for this international gathering, visit pastorsandleaders.org or call 1-800-BISHOP2.
Religion always gazes at where it last saw God, but relationship moves beyond history to destiny.
Bringing resurrection power to your stagnant situation. Purpose in motion.
God only asks you to pray to bring you into agreement. He doesn't ask you to pray so that he can get information. What do you know that heaven is unaware of?
For your gift of any size, you will receive the God Has Moved On CD from the Purpose in Motion series. And for your gift of $75 or more, you will receive the Purpose in Motion 3 DVD set.
It's not just that you have a testimony, you are a testimony. Anybody been through what you've been through and you still alive to tell it?
However, for your gift of $160 or more, you'll receive the Purpose in Motion series on DVD, large print Bible, and an everyday reminder of God's faithfulness. It's time to move forward. Put your purpose in motion.
See, some of y'all didn't even move. And you can never know you're released until you try to do something that you couldn't do before. What used to hold me, don't hold me no more. What used to bind me. Lay hands on somebody, say, I command the release. Get out of that debt. Get out of that depression. Get out of that fear. Get out of that sin.